On this episode of Locked On Angels, do you know why you need a great closer? Kenley Jansen told you why last night, and that was just a small piece of the story that the Angels told last night. We've got all of the details. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you, Angels, for making this fun, and thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. We're almost at 9,000 subscribers, so you can help us get there today. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Monarch Money. You can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year.
Thank you for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
It's our fourth season as the host of Locked On Angels, and this is the best I've ever felt hosting Locked On Angels, Mike.
Amen.
We're here talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday, every single weekday, 5 days a week, however you want to slice it. On today's show, we asked, when will you buy into this team? And our everydayers shared their responses, and they had some great responses. So we'll share those with you in segment 3. We're also asking what happens when Zach Neto comes back. But first, Mike, that roller coaster of a game against the Rays at George Steinbrenner Field, because the Rays aren't at the Trop anymore. It was a back and forth roller coaster. Let's talk about how it went down.
Yeah, let me take you back before the game. Jeff Fletcher tweeted this just as a reminder. This series was supposed to be in Anaheim, and the Angels were supposed to play the Rays in August at that stadium. But once the Tropicana was damaged, the Rays had to shift their games to where they're at now on the schedule because it gets really hot in August. It's hot out here too, but it's terrible out there. So they swapped a few series. What it means, Johnny, is now the Halos have 22 home games out of 33 total games from mid-July till mid-August. How about that?
They're also avoiding the tropical storms that happen over the summer as well. But Mike, what if that's the catalyst for what gets this team over the hump after the dog day, or during the dog days of summer, I should say? Like, what if them being home 22 games out of 33 total games, that's what gets them over and helps them make it to the playoffs this year? That would be so funny.
That'd be spectacular. Now, the lineup last night had Taylor Ward leading off, Rengifo batting second. Trout was back in right field. We'll talk about Mike Trout and his struggles in right field in just a moment. Soler back at DH. Travis d'Arnaud at catcher, giving O'Hoppe a day off. But I do think that Hendricks and d'Arnaud have a little thing going, don't they?
You said that was going to happen before Hendricks took the mound for the first time a week ago, and you got it right, my brother. This is a little tandem we got going on here.
Yeah, Sean O'Well batted behind d'Arnaud, then Kyren Paris back at second base. Good move, Wash. Adele was in there. Tim Anderson at short. John, quick question. Until Neto comes back, this feels like the everyday lineup outside of O'Hoppe not being in there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to shift everything down when Zach Neto goes to that fifth spot behind Jorge Soler, and then you'll have Sean O'Well, the lefty, Paris again, and then Adele would bring up the back of the lineup there and kind of get things turned over for Ward and Rengifo at the top. Mike, let's talk about Kyle Hendricks starting in this one. I know that you had some thoughts regarding Kyle Hendricks' start that I really want you to share, but let me take you back. He was facing Shane Baz. Brent McGuire, Locked On Angels Hall of Famer, tweeted, "These two pitchers are on the opposite end of the spectrum. Hendricks' average four-seamer and sinker velo in his first start was 86.4 miles per hour. Shane Baz, his changeup slider curveball velocity in his first start was 85.5 miles per hour. So Baz's slowest pitches are Hendricks' fastest pitches, but he was great in this one. 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts on 82 pitches. He had the Rays looking confused up there. They were either swinging early at the change or looking at a pitch perfectly placed. And the fact is, I think Hendricks could have gone a little bit longer in this game, and we'll get to that, once the bullpen arrived. But Mike, Tell me your thoughts on Kyle Hendricks and why you've been enjoying him so far.
I went into this game last night, Johnny, confident because Kyle Hendricks was on the mound. And the reason why is because this guy exudes confidence. And the reason why he exudes confidence is you can tell he knows what he wants to do when he gets out there. He's not deciding on the mound what he wants to do. He has a strategy. Plus, he's got d'Arnaud behind the plate, who's a veteran. It just feels like they know exactly how the game's going to go. They know exactly what they want to do to each pitcher. Remember, before the season started, Kyle Hendricks told Jeff Fletcher that he does a lot of study, extra study on each of the players that he's going to be pitching against to know where they're strong and where they're weak. And you saw that last night. And I get it's only 2 starts, but John, I went in going, we have a chance to really win this game.
Yeah.
And obviously they did, but it kind of went the way of his last start, right? It was a tight game against the Cardinals. This one was the same. But John, I haven't felt this way about an Angels starter since Jared Weaver. When he was on the mound and Weave would get out there, I felt like, man, we're in this game. Like, if we can hold it, if we can score some runs, we're in this game. And Hendricks exudes that same confidence in me. In fact, his first 2 starts with the Halos, 11 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, just 2 walks, 9 hits, 83.2 miles per hour average exit velocity. That's what you want, right? And a 22.6% hard hit rate. John, what do you think that these stats, these numbers, say about Kyle so far this season?
Yeah, I think that it answers the question of the Angels said that they saw something in Hendricks last year with the Cubs that they said, we can fix that. And so far, what we're seeing and how he's managing the game and how he's using his pitches, I think that speaks to the fact that, I think they got that right. I think they did fix whatever they thought was going on with Kyle Hendricks. We don't know exactly what they were talking about, but that's probably for the better. We don't want to reveal our secrets or anything like that. Mike, the Angels started the scoring in the top of the second after a Nolan Shonewell walk. Kyren Paris hits a 2-run home run, 106.6 exit velo. Woo. It barely gets over the wall. And then Bozo Zach Hampel was the one who caught it out there. That guy, go away forever. Stay away. He got booed. Yeah. Wayne Randazzo said, get that goof out of here. I thought that was hilarious. Kyren Paris' 3rd home run of the season. Man, seeing him do this is fantastic. In fact, Brian Murphy, who's covering the Angels out in Florida for Rhett Bollinger right now, said that Paris had 1 home run through his first 91 major league at-bats from 2023 to 2024. This is his 3rd home run in 19 at-bats this season. So just so great to see Kyren Paris continue to do what Kyren Paris does, puts the Angels up 2-0 at that point.
Yeah, bottom 7, Ben Joyce comes in, John. We're super confident about Ben Joyce, but immediately he gives up a opposite field home run to Junior Caminero. Sorry.
We almost had him.
I was going to say
they were willing to give us him for Shohei as part of the package. If we
that's why I messed his name up, because I was thinking about, that's the trade that we were going to make. So Caminero comes in, hits an opposite field home run. He has an 80 grade power, John. This guy is just strong. And then Aranda follows with a single to right, and then Morel doubles and they score a run. And then we find ourselves in a bit of an issue, right? Because the ball then goes past home plate. Ben Joyce isn't backing up home plate. And so that just didn't look good. An error on the throw. Then Meisner comes up and triples in a run, and the Rays take a 3-2 lead at that point. Then Danny Jansen grounds out to short. Tim Anderson makes a diving play to throw him out. Great play. It was infield in, had to dive to get it. Then Wash comes out. He takes Joyce out of the game, brings in Garrett McDaniels. He got Magnum to ground out to first, and then Nolan threw it home to get that runner out. Then McDaniels walks Walls, and then he walks Yandy Diaz, loads the bases, and McDaniels gets Brandon Lowe to strike out swinging. John, Joyce's velocity was down 1.5 to 2 miles an hour. Do you think that was the cause of this bad inning?
Well, yeah, but I think everyone's overblowing it, Mike, because they only threw 6 four-seam fastballs. One of them that he threw to Meisner was the lowest one. It was 95.1 miles per hour. That, out of 6 pitches, is going to bring your whole average velocity down. And so everybody was worried about his velo being down. And I don't deny that that's the case, because obviously it was this 95 mile an hour fastball. That's not Ben Joyce. And that's what Meisner took for a ride there on the first pitch. But if you look, the location wasn't great. He couldn't locate last night. And if the velo was down across the board, I mean, the Rays were sitting on fastball and they were taking their chances on it. You look at some of those sinkers that are out of the zone there. Only one of them really got touched up. But again, for some reason, Joyce just didn't seem to have his head in this one, especially not backing up home plate. There were a couple of interesting moments. I saw Joe Adell probably could have had a base hit had he legged one out. And the same goes for Luis Rengifo had he legged one out. Jeff Fletcher made the point to say, Rengifo has been dealing with the hamstring stuff. We know Joe Adell had been dealing with the hip stuff. So there were a couple of those like asleep at the wheel moments for the Halos. Fortunately, those sorts of things didn't come back to bite them. The Angels tried to make a comeback in the top of the 8th. Rengifo led off with a walk. Trout popped out. Soler doubled. Darnell grounded out. But Rengifo did score to tie the game at 3.
This inning, when we talk about if this team is different, this is another example of how this team is different, right? Because they got a leadoff hitter on base with a walk. Trout gets out. Then Soler doubles. And then it wasn't as if they didn't know what to do. Darno just needed to make contact. And when you watched him at the plate, he was just trying to put bat on ball. He was trying to hit it on the ground. And that's the thing that the Angels just didn't do last year. So I loved that there was a veteran up in this moment so that the Angels could at least tie the game in the top of the 8th.
That's all you had to do was make contact. Now, Brock Burke comes into this one. He got Jose Caballero to fly out, but Trout overran it, trying to see where the wall was. Remember, this is a AAA ballpark, and so, the dimensions are the same as Yankee Stadium. However, the foul territory is not very big at this ballpark. And so Trout overran it. That allowed Caballero to get to third base. Then Burke strikes out Meade and Christopher Morel, who threw a fit and broke his bat and walked off and got thrown out. Then, he hit, was it Meisner in the head? Brock Burke was a little rattled. It was 0-2 count. And he tried to throw a 99-mile-an-hour fastball in there, and it got away from him. Hit Meisner in the head. It was okay. He was okay. So that was a sigh of relief. Burke got he got Jansen to fly out to deep left field to get out of the inning and strand Caballero at third base to keep it 3-3.
Yeah, top 9, Logan O'Hoppe sitting on the bench, ready to hit. He comes up, pinch hits for Tim Anderson. He singles with 1 out. Kevin Newman pinch runs for O'Hoppe. And then with 2 outs, Rengifo bloops one into center field, and Newman scores, gives the Angels a 4-3 lead. And then 9th inning, John, Kenley Jansen enters. He gives up 2 singles, and
Talk to me.
It was 2 singles that probably shouldn't have happened. Rengifo couldn't throw it, and one's off the glove, right? It was a bunt, and it was wild. And I'm sitting here thinking, this can't be happening. Like, we've come back, but remember, this team is different. And here's what happens: the runners end up stealing. They get to second and third with nobody out. Kenley Jansen gets Diaz to ground out to third. They throw the runner home. They get him out. So runner's still at second, first and second, right? So now the runner at second gets to third base. Jansen gets Brandon Lowe to strike out swinging. And then there's this big meeting on the mound. Wash comes out, or Barry Enright comes out, and they're having a conversation. I think Barry said probably 2 words, and Kenley immediately took over. And all you see, and if you're on the audio side, I'll describe it for you, but on the video side, you can watch. All you see is Kenley pointing, throwing his hands, telling where he wants the defense. He doesn't care about the runner at first base. He tells Nolan, don't hold him on because I'm going to throw the ball and I need my defense behind me. John, I loved that.
It was awesome.
I loved that. He took over. You know who the leader was in that inning. And I keep going back to, there's a Dodger fan every dayer that watches. And when we signed Kenley Jansen, they said to us, you're going to love him, but he's going to have games where he walks a couple of guys, gives up maybe a single or something like that, and it's going to be stressful. Nobody out with runners on, and he's going to get out of it. And last night was that situation. So with 2 outs after a mound visit, he gets the last batter to strike out, throwing that cutter, knew exactly what he wanted to do. And John, this is why a great closer is so much fun to have on your team, and it's so awesome to watch, right?
Yeah, totally love to see him taking charge in that moment, getting his 450th career save. He's like, boys, you're not going to take this one away from me.
No.
This is not going down like this.
No.
I'm getting that save right now. That's exactly what Kenley Jansen did. The Angels win 4-3, 7-3 on this young season. They stranded a runner at third with 0 outs in 3 consecutive innings, Mike. No bigger than that 8th inning. And then, of course, in the 9th inning as well. So that was just fantastic to see. So we appreciate you making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up on the show, when Neto comes back, who goes when he makes his return? We'll get into that conversation in just a minute.
I needed something to nosh while I was watching the game last night, so I grabbed Wonderful Pistachios because I could feel like my body needed a good source of protein, right? Like, because I was so stressed out. And what I love about Wonderful Pistachios is each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein. It gives you over 10% of your daily value. I probably got more than 10% last night eating Wonderful Pistachios watching this. I just need something to do when I'm stressed out watching Angel games, right, Johnny?
Right. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, the fact is that there's no better snack to be anxious with than Wonderful Pistachios, and there was a lot of anxiety in last night's game.
Yeah. They're packed with fiber, better for you, unsaturated fats. They keep you going all day long. And there's 2 varieties, and I love them both. I love the no-shell. Last night was no-shell because I just needed to pop them in my mouth. But I also loved the in-shell when I'm at games. I love to open it up and then pop it in my mouth. I love Wonderful Pistachios. You will too. Get snacking, get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. We thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. I'm pumped, Mike. Come on, let me enjoy 7-3.
Let me have
for
this.
Goodness sake,
Best
you guys
start,
know.
Best start for the Angels. Woohoo!
You guys know we've been suffering through and doing this for a long time, and I think it's only going to get better, Mike, because that means Zach Neto is on the way back. He is close to returning to the Halos. Last night was his 3rd game playing the field with the Salt Lake Bees. Wash did say that he's not sure how much time Neto needs, but he did share that they want him to be able to play 9 innings on back-to-back days. So far, he has not done that yet. He plays 9 innings on back-to-back days. That's what they need him to do. He's been DHing and playing the field alternating, which is how rehab assignments usually go. Wash did say we've got to make certain that he's ready to be up here, not where he plays today, and he's off tomorrow. We need him in the lineup every single day. So far, in AAA, Neto is slashing .273 with a .407 on base percentage, .636 slugging, and a 1,043 OPS. He's got 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 4 walks, and he scored 7 runs and stole a base entering last night's game. Mike, how close does Zach Neto seem to be to returning? A lot of everydayers have asked us, when's he coming back? Because, man, just adding him to this lineup, and they're already surviving and keeping their head above the water the way that they have, he would be a huge boon for this lineup.
Yeah, he'll be back when he's ready. And here's the beauty of me saying that, is you don't have to rush this guy back because the team is 7-3 and they're winning games without him. They have good offense without him. And so he's just going to be an addition. Also, it doesn't put the pressure on him to have to be the Zach Neto immediately that he was last year. He'll be back when he's ready. I would love to see him maybe in 2 weeks. He still has to play 9 innings and he still has to play back-to-back games. Hasn't done that yet, as you mentioned, and they want him to do that in the field. And so he played 5 innings the other day, played 7 innings, and then he did play last night as well. So he's got to do those things, check the boxes. And the beauty of this is they just don't have to rush him, John. This isn't like we need Reed Detmers in the starting rotation because we don't have any pitchers. They don't need Zach Neto in this starting lineup just yet, although he's going to be a great addition. But the beauty is that they can take their time, make sure that he's fully healthy, make sure that shoulder feels good, make sure that he's ready to go and bring him back. So I love that that's where we're at right now. But the bigger question, John, is the Angels are going to have to make a move to make some room. So if it comes down to Tim Anderson, Nicky Lopez, or Kevin Newman, who do you think goes?
Man, I was ready to send Tim Anderson to the moon last week when he was getting starts at the 5th spot and just not doing anything. But look, because he's on a minor league deal, Mike, I have a feeling that he might be the one to go. And that's not something I want. I would rather see somebody like Nicky Lopez go. But the thing is, Nicky Lopez and Kevin Newman both have major league deals, and Kevin Newman's is a 2-year deal, so to speak. I think he has a club option or perhaps a player option for next year. So it's kind of that conundrum of, well, you sign these guys to major league deals. What are you going to do with it? And then Tim Anderson's on a minor league deal. Now you could DFA him and hope that he passes through waivers, but the way he's been playing, he would certainly get picked up by another team. So that's really what it comes down to here is what happens when Zach Neto comes back, because you need room on the 40-man roster and you need room on the 26-man roster. Mike, if I have my way, it's going to be Nicky Lopez just because you signed him to be a glove first guy. And in the one game we've seen him try to be a glove first guy, he's throwing the ball away. He's not making the plays he's supposed to. I know it was one game, and so I don't want to pile on, but the fact is he had one job to do. Remember yesterday I said everybody understands the assignment. Nicky Lopez didn't understand the assignment in the one appearance he's had in the field so far this season.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be Nicky Lopez as well. I don't think you get rid of Tim Anderson because he's been in the lineup and because he's played good defense and because he's come through in a couple of really intentional high leverage moments. And so I don't think that you get rid of that guy. He also has a history of being an all-star, and maybe you still feel like you can tap into all-star Tim Anderson, perhaps maybe just to get a glimpse of him. I would rather have him as a backup than Nicky Lopez. And I think you're right on Kevin Newman. I think he stays around. I know he's scuffled to start the season, but Kevin Newman does have good numbers over the last few years. So I think of the three, I would want to keep Tim and Kevin and get rid of Nicky Lopez. Now, one of the things that happens all the time in baseball is these things seem to work themselves out, don't they?
Well, I was just going to say before you get to that, Tim Anderson is playing over Kevin Newman and Nicky Lopez at this point. And so I think that speaks to your point of you aren't just going to get rid of that guy. And if you need to get rid of him later in the season, it's not that big of a deal because he is on a minor league deal, right, Mike? So I think the fact that he's playing more than the other two guys at this point, I think that speaks volumes. But you were going to say these things work themselves out. What do you mean by that?
I think they work themselves out because there's always somebody that needs to go on the IL, or there's somebody that they're going to maybe give a rest to, right? And I know that there's the 10-day and the 60. They won't put anybody on the 60-day IL, but it seems like these things kind of work themselves out where, hey, how are we going to get Kyren Paris in the lineup? Well, we figured that out, right? With some of the injuries that were happening, and now they can't get him out of the lineup. Well, Kyron's not going to play in the infield. He's going to play the outfield. Well, they made a move, and they're like, this guy's got to be in the lineup no matter where he's at. And so I think that there's going to be something that gets worked out. We may not even see some of these guys move. We might see somebody get a rest, maybe a 10-day IL stint for maybe Joe Adell if he can't run, right? Those types of things happen. If they don't have those situations, then I think that we do see, I would hope that it's Nicky Lopez out of anybody that does get released from this team.
Yeah, I think, they picked up Nicky Lopez, on opening day?
Yeah.
I think it was, and so, I mean, it was a last minute decision, and it was last minute because you were like, well, we need one more guy to play the infield. And at that point, they weren't going to have Kyren Paris in the infield. So I think at this point, I think it's no harm, no foul if you decide to drop Nicky Lopez, and especially if it means that Zach Neto is on your roster. I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with that, even from the front office and Artie's money that they're spending. I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with that.
Watching what happens with your money can be overwhelming. It can be difficult. Sometimes you're not sure what happened to your money. It's easy to lose track of where you spent and why you spent and how come there isn't this amount when I looked at my bank account yesterday and there was this amount.
What happened to my 401k? No, I'm just kidding.
All of that stuff, right? Like all of that stuff is frustrating, and you want to make sure that you are focused in on how to take care of your money. So that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop managing your money and start building your wealth. And you can work with your partner on your resources, and it's so smooth. This app is so great because you can track shared and personal accounts. You can set goals, and you can stay on the same page without all of the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB when you go to monarchmoney.com. You're going to get 50% off your first year. Again, monarchmoney.com. When you get there, use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
Hey, we had a great conversation yesterday because there was an off day the day before of when can you buy into what the Angels are selling this year? Well, it feels nice to, when we had the conversation, it was 6-3 and now they're 7-3.
Yep.
They overcome another situation where, Mike, they lose that game 9 times out of 10.
And we're going to say that probably all season long.
I know.
They lose that game last year. They lose that game the year before. It's so great to at least through the first 10 games say they lose that game last year, but this year something different's happening.
Well, and I think that speaks to what they've done over the offseason where you add a Kenley Jansen and a Kyle Hendricks to, keep you in the game, or Jansen to take over and do what he did.
Yeah.
And so, yes, again, I know that there were situations that could have gone better, but at the same time, they won. And when you look at the record, it's 7-3. That's all you need to know so far this season. And the moments that you drill down into speak volumes about this team. But we asked yesterday, when will you buy in? And I offered the platform to our everydayers to share their opinions. Now, we shared some stats that give you a good indication of, what this team really is, like run differential, series wins, monthly wins, just to name a few. You shared, really, it kind of broke down to 4 categories, right, Mike? Reasonable, cautious, never ever, and those who just are here to have fun.
Yeah.
And they're here to enjoy the good times while we have them. So, Mike, why don't you start us with the reasonable takes from our everydayers?
Yeah, these everydayers shared some metrics like we did to determine when you should buy in. Like Eric from YouTube said, if they're at a 567 winning percentage after 60 games,
It's very specific.
then you can take them seriously. So the record would be 34-26 record or better. So Eric thinks they got to be around there. I love that. I love the stats. AQ on YouTube said, I'm going to start believing when the team has played a quarter of the season and they're within a few games from first or in first. The key is going to be how the young guys are developing and whether or not they're playing in meaningful games. Jose from YouTube said, let's see how they look in June. He's been a fan from since 1977, so we probably should pay attention to what he has to say. He's seen this team for a really long time. Dale said on YouTube, if we come back from the road trip over 500, then we're set for a great season. Les Dune said, I'll start believing around the 50 game mark.
Fair.
And then West up 12 normally said this. Normally, I say wait a quarter of the season, but after 2018 and 2022, nope, wait 50 games. And then we'll see.
Yeah, remember they got off to a great start in 2018. They had Ohtani's first year, Mike Trout. They had Pujols still.
John, they were 13-3.
Yeah, they had Andrelton Simmons over there. Man, that was.
And they finished 80 and 82. Oh, man, don't talk about that.
Good grief. Now, our cautious everydayers had this to say. Tom said, I've been an Angels fan for decades. It's way too early to really know how it will shake out this year. I think I can feel really good and positive about this team if we have a winning record by the end of July. I can't wait that long, Tom. Come on.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeek J1 said fans shouldn't buy into this team yet, maybe at the end of July. John Hofstetter said it depends on how you're measuring success. In the standings, they're only 1 game better, but in terms of series play, they're 3-0. What I think is important to note is that so far they're winning the games and series that they should win. That is refreshing to hear because, again, that I threw a fit yesterday because, all you ever hear is, they should be winning these games. Well, as John pointed out, they are, and that's fantastic. Bunger 407 said, buy-in happens in June if they're still winning series. Daniel Martinez said, you know what? Not yet. Not yet.
I love that. That's all he put too. It's a room filled with people talking, and then it got quiet, and all. I imagine Daniel just going, not yet. Right? Now, here's the never ever crowd. This is from YouTube. The name is Your Tapeworm, and it feels like a tapeworm take. It said this. No, this organization has shown time and again that they can't make this work. What I love about baseball in Anaheim, it's always fun to go and have a nice baseball game to watch on a nice day. So I'm just excited for some games. But his philosophy is no, never buy in. The next comment was, I've seen this already. History says otherwise. Nathan says, it hasn't even been 10 games. This was before last night's game. Let's see where they sit after this 9-game road trip. Nathan's is the predominant voice right now on Locked On Angels in our everydayer comments. That is just, he goes after anybody that's positive. We love you, Nate. And then Charles said this, technically, we can still start the year 6-14, so we haven't crossed the threshold of belief. And for those of you that are new to Angel fandom, in 2002, when they won the World Series, they started 6-14 that year, but then ended up winning 99 games.
Here's the thing about, like your tapeworm said, this organization has shown time and time again they can't make this work. That's why I'm confident in what they did over the offseason, because it's not what they've done in years past, Mike. It's been 10 years of trying to get Trout and Ohtani to the playoffs, and let's desperately do that. And I know that everybody criticizes the fact that Logan O'Hoppe and Shawnuel and Neto were brought up, and they're doing their thing, and they're young, and they barely have any minor league stuff. And it's like, but guys, this is the team that you would have in like 2 or 3 years, and they're running it out now, and they're supporting it with veterans the way that they've done. This is why I've been confident that they can sneak into the playoffs somehow, and has everything to do with the fact that this past offseason is a lot different than what they've done in previous years. So I think I just wanted to speak to that point a little bit. Now, how about the just want to have some fun crowd? Brad wrote, I buy in every year. There you go, Brad.
Attaboy, Brad.
Kellen said, the MLB is completely sleeping on this team. The narrative is changing and nobody wants to think that it's real. Yeah, talk to our roundtable guys on the show. Why can't I think of the name right now, Mike? I'm blanking on
the squad show, MLB squad show.
MLB squad show, talking about the Angels, and we're not even there. We can't even stand up for our Halos. You guys sleep on us all you want. Keep sleeping and snoozing, and we'll have better records than all y'all's teams this season. Bad Ace said, already believe that they have way more fight in them. Even if the record doesn't show, they will be a tough out. They got rid of slop, like John said. All the negative war is gone. My phrase was drop the slop.
Good.
One of my favorite everydayers, Mike, I think she's yours too, Sydney Scott Author, said, I'm already all in. Is it based on emotion and vibes? Partially, but I also watched them twice in AZ, and there was so much energy amongst all the guys. Even when they were done and walking off the field, they were all smiles and had a good attitude. If that lasts, I think we'll be in good shape because, like you said, when they're down, they're not out like they looked last year. I think fans need to tune out other comments from non-Angels fans and keep their eyes on the field. That's what will show us what's really happening. Joseph said, I can't speak to what on what it'll take for me to believe, but I will say that coming into the season, I was being very negative with my interest and enthusiasm at an all-time low. 9 games in, and I'm purchasing a new throwback hat for the season. Is it this one? So he said, we're back. Jason Presley
Best
said,
comment.
I blindly start believing every season that day between the Dodgers series and opening day.
Jason,
I love that.
I'm with you.
Roderick Fremont said, if they sweep the Rays this week, I'm all in. So it all hinges on sweeping the Rays for Roderick. I think I'm all right with that, Mike. So thank you, everybody, for your feedback. That was fantastic. We really enjoyed going through your comments, and we love getting your comments on the show as well.
Thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every night, every game, all season long, you can get local analysts on a national scale, and you can find MLB Game Night on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
All right. I was back at it again last night, and I got one more night this week. I'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on Game Night, so I hope to see you guys there. After the last out in the last game, we go live, so I'll hope to see you guys there. Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels, and connect with Mike and I on Instagram at Super Halo Bros, Twitter and Instagram. Actually, Mike, what do we have on deck for Thursday's show?
Well, we're going to be here to recap the game, but we're also going to talk about how the Halos are using Reed Detmers and Ian Anderson in the bullpen because they're starters who are now relievers, and they shared some thoughts on how they're going to approach using both of these guys, and we're going to share that with you tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. We hope you'll come back and join us. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.
Did you see Gavin Carlson sing during the postcast last night
You
about
did?
Kyren Paris? Oh, dude, he was so hyped. I'm hyped. Everybody's hyped. Let's go.
Let me live my life. I enjoy